coming your way this morning on Denver 7 News.
It's one thing if somebody leaves because they don't like your service or whatever, but it's another thing if they're like, I love it, it's great, but I just can't afford it.
Inflation, it's hitting more than just your bank account. How it could impact the future of businesses here in the metro as entrepreneurs work harder to get established. And there are signs the housing market may actually be cooling off. We're taking a closer look at which cities could have home values drop for the first time in more than a year.
Food Network started picking up on this Instagram that I had created, and before I knew it, their talent scout had reached out to me, which at the time I thought was a scam, so I didn't respond.
One woman in the metro has turned her pandemic hobby into profit, where you can get her tasty treats today. Welcome to Denver 7 News. I'm Jessica Crawford.
And I'm Katie LaSalle. Thank you so much for joining us. We're cooling down this Sunday. Some wet weather already moving into parts of Colorado. We're under a mostly cloudy sky here over the metro area as we take a live look over the city-county building here in Denver. We could see a few scattered showers here and there, but most of the moisture will stay further off to the west into the high country. Let's take it live out over Westminster and partly cloudy skies where our temperatures will be about 10 to 15 degrees cooler this afternoon for our highs. You head out to Frisco, though, wet roadways, flakes are flying. It'll be light to moderate. It's a weak moving cold front that is bringing some snow to higher terrain. Around 1 to 3 inches will be possible over 10,000 feet into our northern, central, then southern mountains later on. Just off to the west of Denver, if you are taking the drive on I-70 this morning to and from the mountains, you will encounter some wet roadways and light snow showers. The heavier snow right now moving into the western slope, and that rain-snow mix at lower terrain. There's some light rain out near the airport in Watkins, with showers over the northeastern plains. No alerts in effect for the metro area, but very gusty winds expected later on this afternoon. We'll talk more about the heavy snow expected down south in our next chance for widespread moisture here in Denver coming up.
We're following breaking news out of California this morning. At least 6 people are dead and 9 more are injured after a mass shooting happened in downtown Sacramento overnight. Police would not give any information besides the fact that there are going to be a lot of officers and investigators around that area for the time being. We're working to learn more information about what led up to this tragedy, and we'll update you as soon as we can. Now to our local economy. Inflation continues to impact Colorado businesses. New data from the CU Leeds School of Business shows nearly 93% of business owners surveyed say inflation issues are making a dent in their bottom lines. And more than 55% of those who responded expect to increase wages in the coming year, which could drive up costs. It's a story all too familiar for one boxing gym here in the metro. Worth the Fight just opened their doors this year, and Denver 7's Christian Lopez joins us live now. And Christian, this gym has already been hit with some challenges.
Yeah, guys, things are more expensive than they expected, and they've also had trouble hiring people. Worth the Fight Boxing just opened a couple of months ago, and co-owner Emily Stork says that she and her wife Gladys have had to get creative when it comes to advertisement because costs for that have also gone up. Before opening, they actually held around 40 free events to get pre-sales, but even as they get people to sign up, not everyone is able to stay.
I do hear from people a lot that signed up that they just can't, more than I expected, that they just can't make it work financially to pay. And it means we lose more people each month, which means we have to gain more people just to stay even. It's one thing if somebody leaves because they don't like your service or whatever, but it's another thing if they're like, I love it, it's great, but I just can't afford it.
And they did tell me that they've been working to accommodate customers who have been struggling financially as best they can. And we will have their full story tonight at 5. Live in Denver this morning, I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
Christian, thank you. And while inflation is making everything more expensive, there are some good signs for job recovery here in the U.S. 431,000 jobs were added in March, and unemployment is down to a pandemic-era low of 3.6%. The Bureau of Labor Statistics released its report on Friday, showing an average monthly gain of more than 500,000 jobs, making March the 15th straight month of strong job gains.
And that's good news for millions of families who have a little more breathing room and the dignity that comes from earning a paycheck.
The number of people working remotely also declined. Colorado's unemployment improved to 4% back in February, ranking 28th in the country.
And as more people get back to work, that could also mean more commuting. With the current gas prices, that might present some financial challenges. AAA reports the national average for a gallon of gas this morning is $4.19. Here in Colorado, it's barely dropped since last week, sitting at $3.97. The average was $3.99 before. Well, home prices were already up before inflation started to play a role. Homes haven't fallen in value anywhere in the country since January of last year.
Yes, and that is according to CoreLogic. It's a large financial service company that tracks those prices. Bo Evans got a hold of the newest report, which does identify some markets where prices have leveled off and may fall in the next 12 months.
If you're an American looking for a good deal on a new home, things aren't looking great.
Currently, there are no markets where home prices are declining.
This is Selma Hepp. She's the deputy chief economist with CoreLogic. They analyze housing prices across the U.S. They identified 13 markets where prices have a greater than 50% chance of falling over the next 12 months. 4 on the West Coast, 2 in Arizona, 4 in the Northeast, and 3 in Michigan.
We look at a number of characteristics. One is, income change, employment change or expected change. There is debt to income ratio. There is new construction, percent of distressed sales, income growth.
Kalamazoo, Michigan is one of those markets. So I came out to see what it is about this market that we can all learn from.
It's been a hot market here. So houses have been flying off the market in a couple of days, and it's been really low inventory. At any given time, we don't have a lot of houses on the market, so buyers are really having to compete with each other.
Ashley Sales is a real estate agent in Kalamazoo. Right now, she says the market is hot, but the report indicates a change.
We still have a really low inventory. We still don't have a lot of houses on the market, and even with interest rates rising a little bit right now, that doesn't solve our inventory problem.
I asked Selma to look at Kalamazoo specifically. She identified numbers that any of us can watch for in our areas.
It seems that income growth relative to other metro areas may be a little bit slower, a little bit higher unemployment rate. There's been a lot of home price growth recently, so it may be peaking and maybe a little bit more debt for existing residents.
So Selma's point is Kalamazoo and these other 12 markets are at a higher risk of housing price decline than anywhere else in the country. I'm Bo Evans reporting.
Still to come, if you're wanting to explore one of Colorado's signature stops, you're going to need a reservation when you can secure your spot for Maroon Bells.
Plus, one Westminster woman is taking her pandemic hobby to new heights and new business ventures.